Hello, my friends. I am Craig Perra, the founder of the Mindful Habit to End Sex and Porn Addiction. And today is a very, very special day for me. As you all know, I struggled with compulsive pornography literally starting when I was 8 years old. It was shown to me by an older neighborhood boy, and he used porn to lure me into an inappropriate sexual relationship, and that had a profound impact on my life, as did pornography. I lost a $200,000 a year job, and I almost lost my wife and kids. And so I work, as you guys know, with people all over the world struggling with compulsive sexual behavior. But today we have the opportunity to find out what it's like on the other side. And with me I have Jessie Rogers, formerly known as Jessie Rogers, Jessica Mendez, and I'd like you, Jessica, to introduce yourself to everybody, and welcome and thank you.
No, thank you. Hi, everyone. My name's Jessica.
Thank you, Jessica. So let's just let's jump right in. Right now, you are volunteering with antipornography.org, trying to get the word out, spreading your message of what it was like in the industry. And one of the kind of powerful things that struck me is that I'm going to be interviewing, well, I haven't seen your movies. My wife and I, when I was acting out, my wife and I recently watched one together just so I could kind of get a perspective and a flavor, and I realized that genre that you were in was a place where I objectified women, and so this is very powerful. Thank you so much for being here. Tell me, how did you get into pornography? How did it start?
Well, I was just looking for jobs on Craigslist, and I came across an ad that said make $20,000 to $30,000 a month modeling. And when I talked to well, actually, I had to send my pictures in, so I sent my pictures in, and then the lady called me back right away, and she asked me to go in. Before I went in, she had never mentioned anything about porn. She just talked about, oh, modeling this, modeling that, oh, maybe you'll have to do some nude stuff. So I was like, okay, whatever. And I was 17 at the time. And then I actually talked to her when I was 17, too. And so when I went in there, she actually, what?
I was going to say, Jessica, that's the part that kind of bugged me out a little bit, because here you are being recruited for pornography, and I'm a practicing lawyer. I'm licensed in Connecticut. In Connecticut, I think that would be corrupting the morals of a minor. I mean, so you were recruited before you were 18.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, keep going.
Well, I didn't actually shoot my first scene until the day after my 18th birthday, though. So I was pretty much booked solid since I was new, and since I was a teen. I know there's a really high demand for the whole teen thing. And basically, when I first met her, I just wanted to do solo work. I had watched The Girls Next Door. I don't know if you're aware of that show. It's like about the Playboy Playmates and stuff. So I actually thought it would be cool to do nude modeling, but doing porn never really crossed my mind. And so when she handed me the sheet of what I was okay with doing, I only circled solos. And then she was like, oh, well, the problem with this is that you can't make as much money as I proposed to you. So then she handed the sheet back to me, and I circled boy, girl, and girl, girl, and that's what I started doing.
Wow, wow. And you know, the other thing that struck me is that made me kind of sad when I was reading your story, and I think about, you know, some of the young women that I grew up with and their 18th birthdays and how they were celebrating. And just days after you had shot your first boy-girl scene, I mean, that's kind of how you celebrated your coming of age, so to speak. Kind of crazy if you think about it.
So.
Yeah. So, you know, that's kind of the mechanics of how you got into porn. One of the things that you were brave enough to share on one of your earlier interviews, that you were the victim of a childhood sexual assault. And one of the things that really, as was I, and one of the things that I think is fascinating, for lack of a better word, that so many of the men that I see who were watching pornography like the porn that you made were also victims of child sexual assault. How do you think that impacted your decision to get into porn, to stay in porn? What did that do to you?
Well, when I was in porn, I think, I mean, I don't really know. I guess it was like a weird way, like a weird coping mechanism of, I kind of thought that I was, you know, I had the power back because I was sexually abused more than once, and by me doing porn, like in a weird way, I thought that I was regaining that power that I didn't have when that happened to me. And you know, like Jenna Jameson has admitted that she was gang raped when she was younger too. Like a lot of porn stars have gone through the same thing. It's that industry just attracts people that are damaged in so many ways. And not just that, people that have gone through foster care systems, or that their father or mother left them. I think that they're trying to fill a love hole in a lustful place, and it's never going to fit. It's like trying to fill a triangular puzzle piece into a circular hole. It's never going to fit. That's why they don't feel fully fulfilled inside.
Yeah, and when you're touched as a child, it changes you. Your sexual energy is very powerful. Your sexuality starts forming when you're in the womb, and it just changes you. It changes you in terms of how you view sexuality. It changes you in how you see yourself, and most importantly, it changes how you see other people. And again, sex for me, just like it was for you, and for so many of the men that are on this webinar and watching, and for so many of the men that I work with, is coping. They're using it to cope, and that's kind of ironic. You know, there's suffering going on both sides, even though you may have initially had the perception that it was empowering. Now, in your experience, how common is it that some of these women that these guys are looking at were sexually abused? Did you talk to other young women with you?
Yeah, it's pretty common. I don't know the exact numbers, but from the women that I got to know and that I was friends with, a lot of them had issues. And if it wasn't rape, it was, like I said, the whole going through foster care system, them not feeling loved by their parents, their family members. So they want that love. They want to feel that love. So they go to porn to get that validation. And, you know, they're never going to get it because there's no love in the industry. It's just lust.
Yeah, no, that's so true. So the Craigslist ad, now, so you responded to a Craigslist ad. It advertised that you could make $20,000 to $30,000 per month. How many scenes does one have to shoot to earn that kind of money? I think there's the perception on the outside that all of these porn actresses are making gobs of money, when in fact I've learned that, just doing some reading, that they now don't even use the word porn star anymore. They're called porn girls, and the average lifespan of someone in the industry is less than 6 months. I don't know if that's true, but did you hear that?
I don't know about that. Maybe things changed since I left. I haven't really been keeping up, to be honest.
Yeah, no, good for you. How many scenes do you have to shoot to make that kind of money?
Anywhere well, without an agent, 10 to 20 a month, and then with an agent, which pretty much every girl has to have an agent in the industry, it's 13 to 27, since they take a percentage.
Wow.
So you pretty much have to shoot like almost every day.
Wow. What does that do to your body? And Jessica, one of the things that I wanted to do here today was help my listeners, the people, and my clients to empathize and to connect with there's a human being on the other side of the camera, and the work that they're doing and the acts that they're performing, which are becoming, as you know and you participated in, increasingly more and more aggressive. What impact did shooting 20, 30 scenes in a month have on your body? What did you feel like?
Not good. I was not healthy, which is why I'm so adamant about living a healthy lifestyle and putting goodness into your body now, because I was constantly going to urgent care. I had to be taken to urgent care, I think more than 10 times. And then the actual emergency room, I had to go there twice. I was constantly getting sick with strep throat, mono, getting the flu. Like, I was constantly getting sick, and also, with infections down there, like bacterial vaginosis, urinary tract infections, yeast infections, and then eventually, towards the end of my career, I caught herpes. But yeah, I was constantly getting sick, and not just that. Because of the types of scenes that I was doing, I couldn't eat. I was not allowed to eat. And so I would go days without eating and just really munch on gummy bears and energy drinks just so I could get through my scenes. So I wasn't healthy at all.
And the reason for that, we call a spade a spade. I like to keep it real blunt, is because you were performing and may have become known for your anal sex scenes. Is that why you weren't eating?
Yes.
That must take a terrible toll on your body. In fact, you were injured. Can you talk a little bit about, this was towards the end of your career when you realized you were getting out. Can you share that story with us, please?
Yeah. Well, so basically, I had already decided to quit. I had already gone to my agent and said, hey, listen, I don't want to do porn anymore. Don't book me for anything else, but I will be respectful and finish out the scenes that are already booked. So the day that I got injured was one of the scenes that was already booked, even after I had already decided to quit. And I was working with another girl who was fairly new, and she brought her own toys, and one of them that she used on me was actually a glass rippled toy, and it was really big. So I thought she was going to be kind of gentle, and like I thought she knew what she was doing since it was her toy. But no, she literally just rammed it in there and started pounding on me as hard as she could with barely any like lube or spit or anything like that. So when I didn't allow this to happen for very long because it was so painful. So I screamed and I'm acting it out. But I turned around, and when I look on the bed, it's covered in blood. And I got really freaked out because I'm terrified of blood. And so I went into the bathroom to clean myself up, and I was still bleeding, and I was still bleeding a few days after that too. And it was weird because the agents wanted me to finish out the scene even though I was injured and everything. And then even a few days after that, my agent was texting me asking me if I could go and finish the scene. Like, I was like, are you kidding me? Like, I need at least 2 weeks to heal. So that's when I realized, they don't give a shit about us performers. They do not see us as human beings, which is absolutely ridiculous.
So no health insurance out of your pocket, right? I mean, you don't have a medical plan with this industry, despite the incredible risks that the actresses are taking.
Yeah, no. I paid for everything.
Wow.
I'm still paying bills. Actually, I'm still paying medical bills from when I was doing porn.
Wow, that must be pretty tough.
Yeah.
Just as kind of that reminder, you know.
Yeah.
So, you know, you talked earlier about the teen genre, and this was a place, being 18, was a place where you, for lack of a better word, excelled and kind of blew up onto the scene. I work with a lot of, you know, I'm 42, Jessica, a lot of my clients, 30s and 40 years old, and this, people don't talk about it. No one's talking about the fact that the teen porn genre is one of the most popular genres of pornography. And even though it's legal, often the girls are put in scenes that made to look younger. Was that something that you were encouraged to do? Was that something that you did? And what are your thoughts on that whole genre for us kind of grown-up guys?
I didn't do it for very long because I got a breast augmentation a few months after I got in the industry. But one of the other performers that I met, that she looked very young, she very skinny, you know. Um, she told me that she had to wear a diaper before. Like, that's when I was like, okay, what is wrong with the porn industry to make a girl wear a diaper? And I mean, a lot of the girls are like put in pigtails and wear schoolgirl outfits and stuff like that. I don't think I had to go through those extremes. Like I said, I got a breast augmentation, and I didn't play out the whole teen thing for very long. So
It in my mind, no doubt, is contributing to the sexualization of our young girls. And I mean, you
yeah,
can't have a situation where you've got the most popular genre of pornography being downloaded in the United States. It's number one, two, or three in just about every state in the country. And for that not to have an impact on the man who's got a teenage daughter whose friends are over the house. And so many of my clients, it's that objectification. They see women, girls, as pieces of meat. And so when they're watching that teenager in that scene where she looks even younger, she's often pale, hairless, braces, pigtails, stockings, lollipops, and you just mentioned a diaper. I mean, how these guys go, and it's not like they can perform with their partners, so it has a really, really big impact. And you know, thank you for talking about it. I like to talk about it. It's not something that men talk about regularly because there's so much
yeah,
shame around it, you know?
yeah. No, I agree with you 100%.
I mean,
And
it's like you don't want to be objectifying. I don't want to be objectifying teenage girls. It's not healthy for me. It's not healthy for them. It's not healthy for my marriage. My incredible wife, who saved my life. She picked me up when I was down, and it's not where I want my head at. And so, if you think about your sexuality being this incredible, powerful energy, when you're directing that to, you know, just post-pubescent girls, for the record, I think that's terribly unhealthy.
right, yeah. Do you think that it's helping the whole rape culture thing towards teens, that particular genre?
Do I think it's having an impact? I do. I do. I think that there's an early sexualization of children. I mean, the average age of exposure, Jessica, to pornography is 11. Okay, and if you talk to some of the social workers on the front line, they'll tell you that it's even lower. There was just
So
a
it's just getting lower and lower through the
of
years.
course, it keeps going lower and lower because more parents are giving their kids cell phones,
Right.
and not taking the appropriate precautions. And so one of the things that I do here locally is I lecture for free on internet safety to anybody who wants to listen. The challenge is getting people to listen. This is a difficult issue to talk about, and this is why I'm kind of like trying to blow it up as much as I can so people start paying attention. You know, the other part of pornography that is growing increasingly disturbing is the violence. And you've participated in some extremely violent scenes. I want you to, can you share your experience with the men who perform those violent acts, how you would feel after? And I don't want to re-traumatize you, but I think it's important for people to know, hey, that's a human being, and that's what I want to do. I want to humanize this. So do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah. Well, it is getting worse and worse. Like a few years ago, it was what like people was like, oh my God, was just a woman posing nude, and now everything is normal. It's not just a man and a woman having sex being normal. It's like choking and getting spit on and all of that stuff. All of that is like normal now, right?
I mean,
Um,
that's mainstream, Jessica. You've got two stars, two of the stars who've crossed over to some degree. Sasha Grey, James Dean, both of them had regular roles on television, and I'm like, hey, guys, do you have any idea what they're doing and when people say porn, they think. Well, at least no one on this call, but when people say porn, sometimes they think Playboy, they think the porn movies of the 70s and 80s, and you're right, things have dramatically changed. What does that do to a performer?
um, Me performing in those movies,
Yeah.
I became disassociated. Like there's some things that I can't even remember doing it because I was drunk. A lot of the scenes I did take alcohol to set, and that, I have no problem admitting that it's true. And alcohol made me numb mentally and physically, so I didn't have to think about what someone was saying or doing to me or how much they were hurting me. So that's basically how it is. Other girls, they turn to other things. They turn to harder drugs. But there's always something. They always take something.
To to disassociate, and it's uncomfortable even talking about it, right? Because I kind of felt your energy shift. I mean, even though you volunteered, even though you got paid, that's trauma. That's
Yeah.
trauma, and as the victim of childhood sexual assault, that trauma stays with you. That energy just doesn't disappear. And you've talked about in some of your earlier interviews about actually crying on set, and you noted that was common. Please share.
Well, it was right when I got in the industry, actually. It wasn't my first scene, and it wasn't shot in LA. Actually, it was, I can't remember what other state it was. And I was only doing girl and solos that day, so I thought things would be okay, even though some of the stuff that I was required to do were a little bit weird, like sticking a broom inside of me and stuff like that. But in one of the last scenes of the day, the guy told me that I had to put a speculum inside of me, and I was not okay with doing that, and I said no. And he said, well, I'm not going to pay you if you don't do it, even though I had done all this other crap for him. And I was like, oh, fuck, okay. I was like, I hope this goes by quickly. And I was like, completely sober that day. Um, so then I went through with it, and it wasn't just like a little opening, like when a girl goes to the gynecologist, the doctor checks it, just opens it a little bit. No, he opened it all the way. It was very painful, and he wanted to put a toy in there too. So yeah, I was crying the whole time that was happening. I did not feel comfortable. It was very painful, and I still had another scene to shoot for that guy after that, and I didn't know how I was going to get through it because my pussy was swollen and very sore. So I decided for the last scene that to stick the toy in my butt, because that's all I could do. I could not stick it in my vagina. And after that was when I realized that I should start doing anal if I want to keep doing porn. And that was also when I realized that I should start drinking on set so it would be less painful.
Is drug use and listen, thanks. I mean, I don't want I just peeked on some of the comments in the sidebar, Jessica, and people are just blown away by your candor and kind of shocked to hear this other side of the story. So I again want to thank you. Before we started this call, I told you how brave you were, and you didn't think so, but you are, and I really commend you for doing this. So I just wanted to again throw that out there. It can't be easy talking about this stuff.
Yeah. Well, I do it for other people, not for myself. So.
Yeah. So drug use pretty common in the industry, yes or no?
Absolutely, yes.
I've heard a number of the actresses need pain medication to get through some of those anal scenes that maybe some of these guys who are logged on watching this thing, are watching. Certainly that I used to watch. Is that true?
Absolutely. And they try to like make excuses. Like, I know this one girl, she was like, "Oh, well, I'm sick, so I have to take Percocets." And every time she would fly to LA, she would freak out if she didn't have her painkillers. And I don't know, I maybe she had some mental disorder as well, like some of the girls actually do. But yes, it is very common for girls to take painkillers. It's common for them to do any type of drug, actually. I never took painkillers. I was required to take them after my breast augmentation, but I didn't continue to do it after that. Like, my thing was alcohol. I really, really liked alcohol, and it was really hard for me to stop too. But I did, thank God.
Yeah. And so when did you start? I want to talk about the evolution of when you started to wake up, because one of the things that really impressed me about you is, one, in your website on antipornography.org, there's an article about you, and you talked about knowing how the pornography was hurting other people, and I want to get back to that in a minute, but the was just kind of you realized that you weren't in any way, shape, or form respecting your body. And when you think about some of the things you did, can you help us understand that evolution for you to get to a place now where you're just kicking ass, taking names, super fit, doing your thing? When did you realize I'm done?
Well, it was progressing. Like, my roommate and I, who she actually quit too, we had talked about it several times, and then the syphilis outbreak happened, which was kind of a red flag for the both of us, because the performer that transmitted it was a veteran performer. He had been in the industry for over 8 years, and so for him to get it and then, work with other performers and do that, it was a red flag. So I started to really think about it at that time. And then what really did it for me was when I was actually hanging out with another veteran male performer. I had hung out with him several other times, not on camera. We were just hanging out. And you know what he did to me that night, I wasn't expecting, but in a weird way, I'm kind of thankful for it, because I woke up. Basically, when I got there, he looked angry. He was like, "You're late," and then he just slapped me. And I fell. My ears were ringing because he slapped me so hard. And then everything happened so quickly after that. Like, I was so, like, in a daze. Like, he started banging my head on the floor, and then my face started bleeding. And then, what else? He kept beating me, basically. God, it's hard for me to talk about it in detail. And then he choked me out twice to the point of passing out. And when I would ask him to like slow down or stop or like, oh, I don't think this is cool, he'd be like, oh, you're fine, babe. And there was even a time where he was fucking me from behind, making me look at myself in the mirror with blood all over my face. He whispered to me, he was like, so you think you're pretty, huh? And then he spit on his hand and then put the spit all over my face and continued to fuck me like that. And then he put my head inside of his toilet, which I will admit I was okay with with him doing that at the time. But then every time I tried to come up for air, he would not allow me to come up for air. So everything that happened that night really was to the extreme. Like, I thought I was gonna die, honestly. So when I drove home that night, it was like, I don't know, it was like 4 in the morning. And I just kept thinking to myself, like, what the heck? Why am I hanging out with these type of people? Why am I putting myself in this type of environment? These performers, these directors, people in this industry, even if they look successful on the outside and they're famous or whatever, they have a lot of issues, and I need to get the heck out. Like, this is not going to be my destiny. I actually want to do good things for the world, and I do not want to be here anymore. So that was what did it for me.
Wow. I mean, that's and of course you're not naming names, but this was a veteran adult actor that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Wow. 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 So that was it, right? So when did you finally, your last scene, you're done trying to figure out what you want to do with your life? What was the next? Kind of walk me through you escaping this life and really embracing your body. And one of the things too, Jessica, when I talk to guys, they're chronically masturbating, they have no respect for their sexuality, and you can look at it. Doesn't have to be from a religious perspective. It doesn't have to be even from a moral one. But your sexuality is such an important part of who we are, and respecting your body in a strong, powerful, mature way is so important. And these guys aren't respecting their bodies. They're not respecting their sexuality. And over time, you came to kind of worship that temple. And I know you're a crazy fitness buff now. How did you end up here from there? What keep going.
It was a process. I had to go to Brazil for a month because I have family that lives there. So I had to go there to clear my head, and really reevaluate and look inside of myself and see, what I'm doing. And how it's not only affecting me, it's affecting society. And I had to really look inside of myself and tell myself that I had to stop being selfish, because I was doing porn, to make money. I was only thinking about money. And I had to learn to respect myself as well. So when I went to Brazil, there was another factor. My dad has a lot of issues. He does not work. He lives with his mom. When he lived in the United States, he didn't work either. It was always my mom. He actually stole money from my mom before. He's never supported us financially or anything. He's actually asked me for money. He's never given me money. And so I just wanted to go visit him and you really get that closure, because the last time I had seen him, I was like 10 years old. So it had been like about 9 years since I'd seen him. And when I went there, it was, the same thing. Like, he would just sit around all day. He took like four or five types of medications for like bipolar disorder, depression, and stuff like that. And he also drank. So one of the things that went through my head when I was there was, I don't want to end up like that. So that really, really helped me when I came back to the U.S. say, I am not going to end up being a depressed person or a lazy person that doesn't take care of herself. And not only that, like just going to a type of country like that really shifted my perspective. Even though I was born in Brazil and I lived there till 6 years old, I pretty much grew up in the United States. And I saw how privileged everyone that lives here is. And people need to understand that you can make money in so many different ways. You do not have to turn to porn. Like, there's so many opportunities here, whether it's educational opportunities, financial opportunities, anything, where I realized that I'm just lucky to be here. So that was like the next step. And then after I quit, I was still drinking a little bit after I quit. That was actually the hardest thing for me to stop, was the drinking thing. But I did eventually stop, and I moved to Arizona from Los Angeles so the whole change thing could be a lot easier for me. Because when I was here, I was still hanging out with porn stars and stuff like that. And they all have their issues, and they would try to drag me down with them and try to get me to go to parties and drink and stuff like that. And I was dead set on changing myself. So I said, I gotta go. I have to go somewhere else. So I lived with my boyfriend for a while. And it was really easy for me to change over there because I didn't know anyone there except for my boyfriend. And that's really when I started getting into the whole healthy eating thing, really valuing my body, exercising, getting enough sleep, meditating, having a spiritual life, always thinking positively, not allowing negative images or negative thoughts to come inside my head. And yeah, that's basically.
Well, I'm glad you picked up meditation and mindfulness because, as I'm sure you now know, it is one of the most effective tools out there to increase your sense of well-being, to reduce compulsive behavior, to deal with the thoughts, particularly for someone who has been traumatized. So I'm so happy to hear that. Question: when you were in the industry, you mentioned that you knew, or I thought I read that you knew that the product was harming other people. Tell me about that knowledge, and what was the prevalence in the industry? I mean, do they know that people are suffering, and the porn addiction and sex addiction, it's bogus? You talk to anybody in the industry, they're like, this is baloney. And whether or not you agree with the addiction label, I find it very difficult to believe that you can't acknowledge that people are suffering. What was that awareness like?
You mean how it's affecting like people that watch it and get addicted to it and all of that stuff?
Yeah.
Well, that awareness didn't really come to me like after that whole incident and my whole waking up process. I don't know how people that are in the industry right now feel about it. I'm sure they're in denial, and if they do know, I'm sure they don't care. So I don't know.
I talked to a CEO of a fairly good-sized company, and he approached me because they have the data. They know how long people are watching. They know what they're watching.
Okay.
And he talked about me of trying to get a cut of the back end. What kind of product could he put together so they could also make money off the people who were suffering? So I thought that was pretty interesting to see it at that level. So certainly that awareness is there, and frankly, they know. They have the data. They know how many people are watching for hours that are just, wait a minute, how can this person be living a healthy, meaningful, passion-filled life when they're watching pornography 6 hours a day? There's like, something just doesn't add up. Something just doesn't add up.
Right, yeah. They're really only caring about money then. They don't
Money,
care
money,
about
money.
people.
Money, money, money. So what is next for Jessica? You can't see it, Jessica, or maybe you can. I have in the sidebar, and I want to tell everybody who is watching now, Jessica is volunteering with antipornography.org, and you can click on the link and donate to Jessica's efforts. The reality is you've got a multi-billion-dollar industry on one hand and a teeny tiny hundreds of thousands of dollar industry on the other, trying to get the word out. So people who are watching this, please click on this link. Please donate to Jessica's efforts with antipornography.org. What's next for you, Jessica?
Well, right now I work for a company and I work from home. Actually, my family owns the company. I volunteer for antipornography.org as well. I also, this doesn't have anything to do with porn. I volunteer at a senior home as well on weekends. And I'm going to school. I'm a few months away of getting my personal training certificate. So I'm going to do that. And I already have people that I work with, and I give them meal plans and advice on what type of workouts to do and stuff like that. So I want to work in that field for a while after I get my certificate, and then eventually go back to school and get some kind of other degree in the health field, whether it's becoming a dietitian or maybe even a doctor. I know that I want to continue to move forward with that. And
you clearly have a passion for helping people.
Yeah, definitely. And I occasionally work with the AIDS Healthcare Foundation as well. So
What do you do with them?
We just work on legal stuff, basically.
Cool.
Just go up to Sacramento and talk to politicians.
So where can people find you on the web around your fitness stuff? What give you an opportunity to kind of promote yourself a little bit, Jessica. Where are you?
Well, I just changed my Twitter to @JessicaVeganFit. And then my Instagram is Jessica Mendes Fit. And I think I'm going to make a new YouTube channel. Even though I have a lot of subscribers on my old one, I can't change the link to that. You can only change it once. So I don't want to have anything to do with Jessie Rogers anymore. I realize that that's never going to go away. It sucks because I thought that after a while people would just forget about it and whatever, she quit, fine. And I mean, that did happen for the people that knew me. But then there's also the people, let's say they watch my porn today and then they go to my Twitter, my YouTube channel, my Instagram, and then start calling me all types of names, slut, whore, porn star, this and that. It's just really annoying. I'm like, get over it. Like, I quit a year and a half ago. So I realized, that companies are, I mean, I don't know, but if they're still marketing my films a year and a half after I retire, then I can't associate myself with that name anymore. It's just annoying.
Well, good. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of me. We both kind of turned the worst thing that ever happened to us. For me, it was losing my job, almost losing my wife, almost losing my kids, and losing a job. I think I said almost, but actually losing a job, and turned it into a really, really powerful opportunity to help people. And you're doing the same thing. Now, I got a question for you. What do you want to say to all the porn users out there and the people watching this webinar who are looking for some hope or looking for some inspiration, that maybe if they learn more about you, they'll humanize and empathize and not be, not sexualize violence against women, but see all of humanity for its beautifulness, its greatness, and its power and its strength and all the good, mushy stuff that comes along with that. What do you want to say to these guys?
Well, first of all, they need to admit that they have a problem. I know when a lot of people that do have problems, it's hard for them to admit it. So they get in denial. So what I would advise for people that watch porn, or even if they do know that they have an issue with it or with anything else, to really spend time getting to know yourself. Like I said, meditate, pray, go run for 2 hours, I don't know, do whatever, and really see what it is that you need to change within yourself to create the best you. And really see how the things that you're doing on your day-to-day life, how that's affecting not only yourself, your health, your mental health, your emotional health, your spiritual health, your physical health, but how that's affecting society and how that's affecting the world. And, I can preach to you and tell you that watching porn diminishes your masculinity. It takes away your creative energy, and it also doesn't help your relationship with other individuals. But you really need to figure that out for yourself. And just understand that everything you do affects other people. Even if you think that you're not harming anyone just by fapping in your room when no one's watching, you are. You are creating a demand for film prostitution, and you're supporting rape culture, because that's what porn really does. And it's the whole supply and demand thing. The more you watch it, the more they're going to film it, the more it's going to be necessary to do it. And it is harming society. I would not be here, I would not be speaking on this subject if I didn't know for a fact that it's harming society, and that it's harming people, and that it's harming relationships in so many different ways.
And everybody who is watching this and who's going to be watching this in the future, they're coming from a place, and I love what you said, because what you said was focus on the impact, because as you probably can only imagine, there's so much shame around, hey, I can't stop watching porn. And so a lot of the guys who call, I ask them, how are your relationships? How's your career, your spirituality, your health, your hobbies, your finances? And when that powerful sexual energy is being directed into a tissue 3 or 4 or 5 times a day, when you're in a relationship, you've got a significant other, clearly that energy isn't there for that person. And to break a habit, you have to make a habit. So you must take action. Guys, don't just focus on what not to do. That's where people fail. If you focus exclusively on not doing something, like not watching porn, you will fail. Follow Jessica's advice, meditate, exercise, go for a ride, do something. To break a habit, you have to make a habit. So, Jessica, I want to thank you so much for being brave, for agreeing to talk to me, and share your story with everybody, in your effort to tell people, hey, there's a human being on the other side of the camera, and that human being has suffered. And that human being, and I know you don't want anybody's pity, but I want these guys to know that these actresses that they're watching in these more and more graphic and violent and sexual scenes are people, and they're being traumatized. So any final words, Jessica?
Absolutely. If people that are watching this, if they are still watching porn, I just also want to point out that the performers that are doing it, half of them don't want to be there. um, and a lot of them are suicidal too. So when you're making that kind of connection with someone that's suicidal, like that's not gonna feel good. You shouldn't contribute. You shouldn't contribute to that, and that's why a lot of people. I think that's why a lot of people feel guilty or ashamed afterwards, because that whole negative energy is there.
Wow. Wow. Well, Jessica, I want to thank you so much. I wish you the best of luck in your future. I look forward to kind of following you, seeing how you're doing, and thank you for making an impact on the world. Thank you for sharing your early childhood sexual trauma, your experience in the industry, the pain, the harm. It means so much. This voice, your voice, needs to be there. So I want to thank you. I also want to thank everybody who's here. People stayed on this call because they wanted to hear what's going on. And again, thank you so much, guys. Remember, embrace your power of choice. To break a habit, you have to make a habit. So I want to see all of you start kicking ass and stop wasting your life away watching pornography.